Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's CPE webcast, Get Tax Ready, Solving Source Document Gathering Issues. This 50-minute CPE session is brought to you by CPAPracticeAdvisor.com and SafeSend. SafeSend is the maker of several technologies for the tax and accounting profession, including its flagship product, SafeSend Returns, a winner of CPA Practice Advisor's Innovation Award for several years. SafeSend Returns helps firms digitally assemble, securely deliver, and quickly capture e-signatures from clients for completed tax return packages. The company also offers Tick-Tie Calculate and SafeSend Exchange. My name is Isaac O'Bannon, and I'm the managing editor of CPA Practice Advisor. I've worked with CPAs, tax professionals, small businesses, and firms for more than 25 years. Before we get started, let me go over how you will earn CPE credit and some basic housekeeping issues. The webcast is 50 minutes and qualifies for one CPE credit in the field of technology or business management and organization. During the webcast, there will be 4 polling questions, and you need to record an answer in each one. This is how we verify attendance and participation in the webinar for CPE purposes. After the webcast, there will be a post-event evaluation form. Filling out the form is optional, but you must click the Submit button as it is a required part of CPE. Once you submit it, your CPE certificate will be sent to the email address you used to register for this event. Note, multiple persons watching from the same computer, screen, or other device can all earn CPE credit at the same time. Please have them join you now if you wish. If you have questions during the webcast, enter them in the question box space on your screen, and our speakers will try to get to as many as they can, time allowing. Questions not addressed may be followed up on afterwards via email. If you see a display that notes the number of questions answered, this does not refer to how many questions or polling answers you have provided, but only to audience questions. In this webcast, we'll cover how using digital, fillable, client organizers, file exchange, document request lists, and other front-end gathering tools within SafeSend can help firms be more efficient, more productive, and more secure. The learning objectives for this webcast are listing common points of frustration for firms and clients throughout the tax engagement, recognize the new technological advances that are automating tax practices, identify automation solutions that were built specifically for the tax and accounting profession, and evaluate how to develop a client-centric approach for tax engagements and improve client collaboration. Today, I'm joined by Andrew Hatfield, the co-founder and chief growth officer of SafeSend. He is also a recognized industry speaker and thought leader and an enthusiast for emerging technologies that impact tax and accounting firms. He will also be joined by Shirley Chen, a SafeSend product enthusiast based in Commerce, Michigan. Shirley is a digital transformation practitioner who specializes in leading changes in the tax and accounting profession. And now I'll hand it over to Andrew. Andrew?
Thanks, Isaac. I appreciate that. And good to be on here with you again, and good to have a chat before this, Isaac. Isaac and I have known each other for quite a while in the industry. It was good to catch up today. So I appreciate that. As Isaac mentioned, Shirley Chen is on here. She's an expert around the SafeSend technology and in the market in the tax and accounting space. And she'll be presenting a software demonstration later towards the end of the hour today. So we're really happy to have her here today. And then also we have Jamie Bixler on here. She's with SafeSend as well. We're excited to have Jamie here because she's an expert. And what she's going to be doing today is anyone in the audience that wants to chat a question into the chat console, feel free to do so. Jamie will be getting live answers back to you through chat. We encourage that. We'll probably highlight some questions through the presentation today. And if we have time at the end, we'll definitely go through and answer some of these live. But she will get the answers you're asking at any part of the presentation today. So just feel free to do that. So thanks, everybody, for being here and taking your time. We're really excited to be here today. I'm very excited to be here today. I think we have some great educational content for you, and we have good technology to show you. And I think it'll be a good hour here to spend with us. And of course, as Isaac mentioned, you're also going to get CPE. So we'll have 4 polling questions today. Just make sure that as we go through the hour, that as we have those polling questions, you get those answered. There'll be a total of 4. So that's the number of polling questions today. So the agenda today is pretty straightforward. The content's really focused on a piece of automating the tax process. And so kind of the big picture here is for firms on the call to think about their tax department and their process around tax returns in particular, and what that big picture looks like for automation and the workflows and the streamlining and the standardization of that process. And we'll talk about that just to sort of set the foundation and the stage here. And then we'll move into a piece of that tax process workflow kind of on the front end. And we'll talk about the gathering problems, and we'll define that and talk about some of the stress of the industry of, getting everything you need from your clients together to be able to move on to the tax preparation step and ultimately finalize the return and get it delivered and e-filed. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about SafeSend history, only because it'll put in perspective how SafeSend is interacting with automating the tax process and where we fit, which is really kind of on the back end of automation around assembly, delivery, and e-sign, and sort of how over time we've transitioned into being a participant in providing technology to the marketplace that'll help on the front end with gathering, and sort of the reasons why we've made that decision, what our clients have asked for, and how we've had to cooperate with other vendors, like tax vendors, to sort of make this, seamless and work well, and what's ahead. And then we're going to talk specifically about tax ready, what that means. Tax ready is not a product. It's really a concept. Some of you may use this in your firm language when you're talking about getting everything you need to get ready to prepare the return. Some firms just call it gathering. We'll define that and talk about what that means from a holistic approach and how that fits into automating the tax workflow and the gathering side. And then Shirley's on here, as we mentioned. She'll be doing a demonstration today. She'll show you how you can automate electronic engagement letters for batch processing, getting those out to your clients, tracking them, e-signing those engagement letters, being able to remind clients to get them signed back to you, because engagement letters is really kind of the start of getting tax ready. And then she'll show you e-sign for 7216 consent forms. That can also be part of that getting tax ready. She'll walk through and show you a paperless organizer that's a fillable PDF form, and how that can be interacted by your client without having to print anything out, and how that can also have requests that go along with it, with your questionnaires, your document request lists, the things you need from your clients to prepare your returns, and then how you can have an upload process there for source documents. Well, and she'll go through all of that. And then she'll be showing you DRLs, which just stands for document request list. Over on the audit side, the PBC, prepared by client. On the tax side, we call DRLs, and those are really your checklists of what you need from the client. And then if we have some time, we'll take some Q&A if we have questions that haven't been answered, or we have some questions that need to be put out there to the audience. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, we're excited to be here, and we think we have some good content today. And we want to start with the first part of the agenda, which is part 1, the big picture. So automating the tax process. So I kind of work with firms on a regular basis, and SafeSend does for sure. And this may be representative of your firm, but you're kind of looking for solutions that are inside of this tax process. You might have been looking for have an e-file or an e-sign solution. You might have a portal or a secure file and delivery system. You might, be using different products in the preparation stage, or you might have a way to send electronic engagement letters. Or my point here is that a lot of times we make decisions in pieces of this big workflow that are kind of being looked at from an approach of silo approach, where this is what I'm trying to solve right now. So I'm just focused in on this one aspect and not really backing up and saying, this is really the big problem that the firm is trying to solve overall. And this is what technology vendors and the marketplace have really tried to build solutions to help out with. And this is both internal firm process and collaboration with client as well. And if you look at the bigger picture, automating the tax process, the way that we think about it, and maybe the most common industry terms would be, the front end, right? Getting everything you need from the client to go to the middle part, which is the preparation and review, preparing the returns and getting those ready. And then going to the back end, which would be, delivering the returns, getting the 8879 signed and getting the tax returns filed. We sort of look at this the same way, but we use terminology like tax ready because it really, to us, encompasses a lot more than maybe just front end or what gathering might be. And then preparation for the middle part, data entry, preparation, review, and sign off, and finish and file for the end piece, the assembly, delivery, and ultimately the signature and e-file of the return. And each of these pieces has a lot of parts. So in tax ready, you have things like engagement letters, you have consent forms, those need to be signed and executed. You have a lot of different document types that need to be gathered. And you have updating client information, questionnaires that go along with organizers. And you also have a lot of data that can be picked up at this point. And kind of all that needs to be shifted into the middle section, which is preparation. Now, this middle section has had a lot of attention by the industry over the past decade or so. And most of this is by tax vendors and consolidation of products that play in this space. I left one company up here, SurePrep, because they represent OCR products, and tax vendors have OCR products. There's other companies that do that, but that really plays heavy in this middle section. And SurePrep is a great example of a technology here. It was recently acquired by Thomson Reuters, which is, a lot of you may know already, that's public information. And so now it's a logo of a tax vendor, but that's what we're talking about here in the middle space. The import of source documents and trial balance accounts, data entry, research, reference work papers, routing, reviewing, rerouting, finalize, and sign off. And then once that happens, it kind of shifts. The output of all that work goes to the back end, and that becomes the section where we're going to get into assembly and delivery of the tax returns, collection of 8879s and other e-signatures, and then the ability to do an e-file and then collect tax prep fees, etc. So that's what we're talking about. SafeSend in particular has really concentrated on this back end. And really, this used to be things like, delivery in paper, right? And then it moved to delivery of tax returns by portal, delivery of tax returns by secure file transfer solutions like SafeSend Exchange or ShareFile. Then it became e-signature applications for, delivery of 8879s. And then it sort of moved into, and has always been, I guess, password protected PDFs, which is probably the most common, sent by email. And SafeSend kind of looked at this and said, hey, there's a lot of automation and workflow here that needs to happen, and kind of a better collaboration on the client side and sort of standardization to do all this with one system. And that's what we built. And, as Isaac mentioned earlier, we've won 4 innovation awards from CPA Practice Advisor on it. And we've really beat up this back end and got a great solution. Almost 70% of the top 500 firms use it, and thousands out there in the marketplace. But what the industry hasn't really been able to solve, and what the content for today is the gathering aspect. So we go all the way back to this front end, and there's still these problems that exist with getting all of the things on the front end that need to be done to be able to start preparing return, all the data and documents you need to get from your clients, et cetera. There are solutions that have focused here, but there's not as many as solutions as have focused in the other areas. And then there are just kind of some rudimentary older ways that a lot of firms still do this. Obviously, firms get this done because tax returns get filed. But now it's sort of about how can we get it done better? We've moved from paper to electronic here. We have a few companies that are in the space. But how does that really change? And I think what's going to happen with AI in particular, the ability to jump out and read and recognize source documents really effectively through AI, which you hear about all the time now, this is going to have a big impact, and it's going to bring the ability for more companies to be very, very beneficial here and automate this process in a much better way. And I'll talk about that as we go through this. So let's focus in on the front end and the tax ready portion. Isaac, this would be a great time to ask polling question number 1 to the audience and get their responses.
All right. Yeah, it really does seem like you were saying that automated so many other parts of the system so far, the profession has, but the gathering process is still really, really challenging. So, so the first polling question for our attendees is, does your firm feel like it has an easy and seamless electronic gathering process that your clients understand and complete? Your options are yes, no, or yes, but we're always looking to improve our processes.
But it looks like we have pretty good response rate happening here. And shortly we'll be able to share the conclusion here in the order of how many of the audience picked which option, A, B, or C, yes, no, or yes, but we're always looking to improve their process. Isaac, is this a poll that you close, or are the results in, and we can talk about the results and move to the next section?
Actually, if we can get a little help from our administrator, that'd be great.
So it looks like 45% answered yes, but we are always looking to improve our processes, and 40% answered no. We don't feel like we have an easy, seamless electronic gathering process that clients understand and complete, and 14% said yes. So perfect. If we could close that poll, and we'll go back to the next section of content here. All right. I think we're back on screen for part 2, the gathering problem. So let's move into the next section. Let's talk about the gathering problem. So to me, gathering has, what does gathering mean? Well, it means a lot of things when I think about it. It has many meanings. So let's kind of define what we're talking about here for our purpose today. First of all, firms have really struggled with gathering for a long time. I mean, this goes all the way back to the shoebox, right? Where you got, the shoebox of paper that your client brought in and delivered to you, or you might remember still called the BOC, the bag of, CRAP. And, the gathering's always been kind of like timely. It takes a lot of time for the client to gather all this stuff and the firm to sort through it. And it also gets kind of a poor response rate. So when you ask your clients to deliver, here's the documents I need, that sometimes it's hard for them to get them. They forget to do it. How do they get it to you? It can be confusing for the client. And gathering doesn't just happen, although there's larger volumes of it that happen at certain times of the year, going into busy season or maybe before extension season. It really happens throughout the entire year. So it's a year-long process. And your client, the main problem here is that your clients can't recall what's being delivered versus what's still needed. So personally, when I get a list from my CPA, throughout the year, I tend to forget, what did they ask me? What documents did they need? What data did they need? What did I deliver? What didn't I deliver? Did I get it in on time to them? Am I still missing things? And so, it gets confusing. And I think that a lot of, firms and its clients would agree with that. And then there's a secondary complexity to this, and that's issues by gathering format. So you've asked your clients for the things that you need, the source docs and data, and then some of that comes in paper and some of it comes in different document formats. So it could come in PDF or Word or Excel or scanned, and some of it's data. There's systems out there that hold this data, and data that would be much easier delivered if there was a connectivity to that data. But there's so many sources of the data that it's a really big challenge. And then you need signatures. And so are those ink signatures or electronic signatures on the engagement letters, the consent forms, the 7216s. And then there's the format of how you're asking and the clients are delivering information. There's email, there's secure file transfer solutions, there's portals, there's e-sign products. And there's very few technology vendors that specialize in this area. And then again, in capitals here, data. There's so much data out there. Okay, so that's the challenge. And that's why it's been sort of so challenging and convoluted. Now, obviously, like I said, we're getting it done because returns are getting filed, but it's a lot of time and effort and frustration for a firm and a client to go through this. So we've got to get better at it. So if we look at what firms are reporting as the biggest issues, and we polled our clients and asked them, and they said, look, gathering of source documents is really our biggest issue in the tax workflow. They feel like that's the one thing that they really don't have solved, or in a way that is solvable that they can implement, or the biggest pain area. So it's time consuming. Again, they mentioned time. It's manually, matching source documents received to the document request list. The DRL is really challenging. How do you keep track of what the client's giving you versus what you need and make that transparent for both parties? And then the need for better source document gathering, tracking, reminding, and standardization. They don't really have a good way to do that. But the biggest thing they're talking about is it's frustrating for clients. And the same thing we talked about on the last slide: which documents are needed, which documents have been delivered, which documents need to be delivered, and how do we automate the data flow for the things that we need? And there's really no way of knowing what percentage of the client's documents have been received. So if you take like 1,000 clients or 100 clients in a firm, or 10,000 clients, whatever the size, and you look at your tax clients and you say, which of these clients have we, first of all, for each client, what do we need? And then second of all, for each client, what have we received? And then what are we missing for each client? And do they know that we're missing it? And do we have a way to show the client what they need, what they've delivered, what they don't have? And can we see that internally? And this is really the crux of the problem. There's really no good system to do that. So you kind of struggle with it. If we break it down by gathering methods by return type, so if we jump into 1040s are, there's document request lists, or DRLs, are included in the organizer. Well, the organizers have had problems where they go out and you just deliver the organizer to get the organizer delivered. Some firms get a bunch of these organizers back, but that's very few compared to the majority of firms that get very few of these back. So a lot of firms that we talk to, they're just getting the organizer out the door. Maybe they get some back, maybe they don't, but they're getting it out the door. And organizers have traditionally been delivered in paper or PDF format. So if I send you your organizer in paper, you have to fill the entire organizer out with the DRL list. You have to then gather up all the documents, and you have to package it up and mail it back to the firm. If I send it to you in a PDF format, and it's a static PDF, then your client gets the organizer, but they can't interact with it, so that they have to print it out. Now, if you print it out to paper in my office, for example, I've got a flat screen, glass printer that I can scan one page at a time. So how the heck do I get it back to you, even if I want to fill it out? And it just creates this whole problem. So most organizers, mine included, it just becomes a paperweight, or it goes into the trash, because it's not an easy process. And because the DRLs are in there, the questionnaires and the request list, that starts to break down that process as well. And then there's no way for the client to send documents to the firm. Like some firms that give a drop-off link, like here's a link in the product box, or, a secure file transfer solution or portal, and here's the stuff I need, please upload it to me. And, that's kind of how we're doing it. Or we send an email and we say, send back, these attachments that I need, here's a list, or upload it to the portal. And again, you really have poor tracking around that, and transparency of what's been delivered and needed. But when you get into 1041 and the entities, where there's really not organizers, in some instances there are, but it's majority there's not. The document request lists are usually templated and sent via email. They don't come in the organizers. And so it sort of becomes this email exchange game, right? And then if you don't do it in email, or you do an email, but you're not asking for attachments, then you're doing the drop-off links and the portal links, et cetera. It all comes back to the same problem. How do you know what percentage of clients' documents have been received? And how does your client know what they've given you and what they need? So that just gets back to the main, to simplify the issue, that's it, right? Okay, so the old way and the current options, this is the way most firms are doing it, is they're doing it very disparately. The old way equals disparate to me, because if you look at all of your clients, and then you said, how is each client delivering the source documents, and how are we asking them to our requests for the source documents? How are they doing that? It really would be, well, maybe this particular organizer goes out to this client in paper, but then the engagement letter goes out in email, and then we send them a document request list through like ShareFile or SafeSend, the secure file transfer solution. And then we've asked them for a couple documents to the portal upload, and they mailed or dropped off some stuff in the office. It's very, very disparate, right? So there's no standardization. So why move to sophistication? Why move to standardize? Well, I think the reasons for standardizing are obvious, but to standardize this process and make this process more transparent and more trackable, you really need technology to get involved. And there's tax vendors that have been, moving in this direction to get involved. Products we mentioned earlier, like SurePrep from TaxCaddy, is a front-end data gathering product recently acquired by Thomson Reuters. That was really the one product out there that was hitting this in a pretty major way. And then, but very, very, wonderful, sophisticated solution, especially on the data gathering side. And then SafeSend, we were, and we'll talk about this in a minute, we were kind of being pulled in that direction through our secure file transfer exchange solution and through our engagement letter module and our e-signing module. And then there's companies like SureLink, who has done a great job on the audit side and has started to move in to the tax side as well. And then there's companies like HubDoc, ShareFile, a DRL, document request list feature. And then there's companies that their core is not around gathering, but they have gathering capabilities. Canopy and Carbon are out there. So there is this move to sophistication. Some vendors are being pulled in that direction, even though it may not be their core purpose. And then other vendors are starting to, say, hey, we need to get better solutions and building out real sophisticated processes around this. So, Isaac, I think this would be a great time to turn it back over. And, let's go to polling question number 2 and get some information from our audience.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. Yes. Polling question number 2 out of 4. How does your firm currently request source documents from clients? And your options are by paper, email requests, secure file transfer, document request lists, more sophisticated technologies like the vendors that Andrew mentioned, or with a mix of the above. And while the poll is still ongoing, Andrew, I noticed that most of the results seem to be in the email area.
There is. So email is, email is probably the most standard way that firms handle this today. And I mean, my CPA sends me emails in this regard too. And this has just traditionally been the easiest way to do it. So it doesn't surprise me that's high. That 75% of the audience, Isaac, is reporting mix of the above. Right. I think email would be the biggest way that they do it from a technology platform. But as we mentioned on one of the slides earlier, there's just this disparity in there because you're just trying to get the job done and you're using the tools that you have at the given time throughout the year with the client. And it ends up, depending on what document you're asking for or data, it's going out through, email or secure file transfer or portal or something else. So it does become very disparate. And looks like we still have some folks out there in the audience answering the questions, but I think looks like we've stopped moving here on the answers. So 73%, almost 74% say mix of the above, followed by email request at almost 13%. Only 4.68% replied to D, which is sophisticated technology like SurePrep, SafeSend, or a tax vendor solution. Okay, I'm going to move back to the slides, and let's move into part 3, SafeSend history. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I just want to set the stage here that SafeSend really started off with products that were around secure file transfer, SafeSend exchange, an e-signature product for engagement letters and 7216s and POAs, but really for 8879s. And then as we started to deliver a lot of documents through secure file exchange and through the e-signature platform, we really realized that a lot of this was around tax returns and that there were some really sophisticated workflows that weren't being addressed in automating the internal firm process and then the collaboration with the client to get the tax return packages assembled, delivered, e-signed, completed, and back for filing. And so we built SafeSend Returns, which is really a focus on the back end of the tax process to solve that problem. And that was great. That's where we focus. That takes time to really get something in a position where it is a solution that can be rolled out across all firm sizes. And so as we kind of got there, the pandemic happened, and that raised some really interesting questions with our clients where they came back and said, hey, we've got, staff going home. We've got clients that aren't coming into the office, and we got all these organizers we need to get out the door. And, we need to do this as PDF, send it as PDF files, but we need it to be fillable so that our clients can do this remotely. And we don't have to print it out. Nobody has to mail these things back. And so we built a solution for SafeSend organizers, which is a fillable PDF. And Shirley will show you that to you today. So our clients sort of put us into this position where we really got involved on the front end of the process. We're already doing our e-signatures for engagement letters and 7216s, but it was really for 8879s on the back end. And then we had SafeSend Exchange, which our clients were collecting documents for source document gathering through it, but it was really more for, sending secure file transfers. And then we sort of put all these products into the SafeSend suite, and we started focusing more on how do we interact more on the front end of the tax process, and how do we get involved to be, a solution there. And so we really started digging into the problem and putting resources into this. And we looked at some statistics and we said, look, SafeSend's wasn't really built to solve the front end tax process, but we have, we delivered 1.6 million, we uploaded or gathered 1.6 million source documents through our organizer product. We're just trying to get organizers delivered electronically to clients and get them filled out. But we had a feature we could upload source documents, and 1.6 million got uploaded. And then our exchange product, we gathered on the front end of the tax process over 5 million. So it's like, 6.6 million documents are getting gathered through these products that weren't really built to be gathering products. And so, that clued us in that this is a bigger problem than we may have thought. And we really started to put emphasis on this. And we looked back at automating this workflow, and we really tried to define what on the front end, needs to happen. And then along comes things like AI and technology advances, and it started to become very obvious that, we could build a sophisticated solution there. And that not just us, I don't want to just make this about SafeSend. There's the other companies out there that are doing, more in this area than ever before. So I think in general for the marketplace, the benefit is that we finally hit the point where the market's turned to this front end gathering problem, and technology sort of caught up in a way that we can really get something done here. But the underlying problem historically has also been that there wasn't a lot of cooperation between independent vendors and tax providers and companies in this preparation phase in the middle. And you have to have cooperation from the front end to the middle to the back end to make this all work seamlessly. And there's never been a time better than now where tax vendors have stepped up and said, let's be more open, let's work more to get this done. And a perfect example of that is that I can talk about is SafeSend had an integrated relationship with SurePrep, and SurePrep was acquired by Thomson Reuters. And we also had a strategic partnership with Thomson Reuters for the last 3 years. And both of these companies were very, very open to continue to work. And they mainly focus in the middle part of preparation, really to work with vendors like SafeSend and other logos, not just us, to get this really open platform and this integration relationship to make all this flow. And so that's a game changer. That's why now there's really a chance that these companies out there that are focusing on this can get sophisticated and make this really work for you and get this automated tax journey that the industry has been needing for a long time. Isaac, this would be a great time to go to polling question number 3 and take it back to the audience input.
All right. So polling question number 3 is, what percentage of organizers did your firm send electronically to clients this last tax season? And your options are 0 to 25%, 26 to 50%, 51 to 75%, or 76 to 100%.
Hopefully a lot of the audience is sending electronic organizers, because that just saves a lot of time and money for the firm. But most firms that do that, they typically send them out as PDF files. And it's not as easy as people think to get a PDF file to be fillable at the size of an organizer. And so I think the problem and solution here is that A, organizers need to be fillable, and B, organizers need to get smaller. There's just too much junk in an organizer. It's overwhelming for a client. So, we call that kind of like getting smarter with the organizer, shrinking it down to the stuff that really counts and getting them fillable. But I would hope that a lot of firms are at least sending it electronically, because that at least gets it out the door with less cost.
Now, the initial results look like if you broke that into the higher and the lower, you have about 40% combined that are 50% or more, and about 53% combined that are less than 50%. But I also wanted to note, Andrew, that there was a question or a comment rather from one of our attendees that said they are urging their clients to use their portal, but they often ignore it and end up sending them emails. So they email their documents.
Yeah. So I can comment on that. The issue with portal is pretty simple. Portals are great technologies. I'm not going to beat them up on a technology standpoint. They were designed to be client-facing storage. So, your firm might have a document management system that's internal storage. And then for the documents that need to be exposed to your clients for external storage, portals are great. Portals have been sort of forced into the position where they have to be good delivery systems. And out of necessity, firms will request that clients upload documents or that they receive documents from the portal. They weren't really designed to be able to do that when they hit issues around workflow problems. And for example, a portal, the number one issue with the portal still today is password and login. The number one issue is clients run into a password login issue, and they don't know how to log into their portal. Like, your tax client's not interacting with the portal very often. So they come back and they have what's my password and username. And that frustration right there generates an inbound phone call potentially, and it just kind of breaks down the process. So a lot of firms use it. It can be frustrating though.
I do see how it can end up actually adding extra workload to the firm having to respond to all those client requests.
The one thing I know about firms is they want clients that are happy and not frustrated, and they don't want inbound phone calls unless it's to talk about how great your services are and do you have more services you can offer me. So we always keep that in mind. At SafeSend, we don't use password and login for that reason. We never have. Passwords are just, we use security, don't get me wrong, through text and email security codes and things like that. But we work around it in a secure fashion, because passwords, username, and logins, they just, everybody understands that frustration. So, okay, so let's move on to the last part here, and then we'll jump into the demo by Shirley. So Tax Ready is just all about the front end. So Tax Ready is just about engagement letters and e-sign of engagement letters, 7216s, et cetera. Stuff you need up front. Organizers, being filled with PDF forms, gathering source documents, tracking, reporting, reminding, and then data flow from the front end, to the middle parts. You can ultimately get to the back end so you can complete with finish and file. The key takeaways are pretty simple. Look, think of the entire tax return workflow with Tax Ready, not as each part of its own separate workflow. So really going back to the slide that I showed earlier with the breakdown here, you really got to think about this whole thing, and then at least think about which part and all the components that you're trying to solve, instead of just, grabbing a solution or a process that really only, hits one of these one of these points. And let me get back to the right slide here. There we go. And then the second is be consistent. Send your organizers, ELs, and 8879s, tax returns, and other tax loss documents the same way you deliver your collaborative documents with your clients. And this should say no paper organizers. We missed the paper there, but let's get electronic at least and get out of paper. But you really want to try to get consistent across all of this collaboration with your client, because if you're standardized and consistent, your staff knows how to do it more efficiently, and your clients can actually change processes. When you ask them to do things in too many different ways, it becomes frustration, a barrier to their ability to jump on board and standardize. So those would be the two key takeaways today. At this point, I would like to go ahead and turn this over to Shirley so that she can provide, I've got the right slide now, so that she can provide a demonstration. And Shirley, I'll turn it over to you. And we probably need to get through this in about 13 minutes, which I think is appropriate.
Thank you, Andrew, for setting the stage. And I would like to pause on the screen and just really encourage your participation that Andrew has mentioned all these issues firms are experiencing. So just take a look at the slide deck and then go back and think about your current workflow. How many different tools are you using right now? And how about each individual engagement type and engagement rate from your client? Do they like it? Do they not like it? With that being said, my job is really to show you the front end of the SafeSend suite. And this is a sequence how I'm going to show that to you. First is a really simple, easy for e-signing engagement letter and also that section 7216. And let's move on to talk about that organizer, how we can be using that for your 1040 returns. Now we handle the 1040 return type, and how about other engagement like entity returns and things like that. So we can take a look at the simple and easy way for you to send out document request list. Throughout the demonstration, I'll be showing you how you can be using the SafeSend suite to track, report, and also remind your client when the time and the occasion is appropriate. And let me switch gears to transition to a live demo. Hold on and bear with me just for 1 second. Okay, I hope you can all see the desk. There's a slight delay there, but you should be able to see a Google Gmail. So I went ahead to deliver myself a request list. So really focus on the client side. Again, the problem we have identified today is we want to provide something easy and simple for your client to be using. While I'm showing this one-off document request list, please also know that many firms are using mail merge and they are sending out hundreds, if not thousands, of engagement letters at the same time. And they have reported back they save hundreds of hours. So in this format, they receive this email request. There is a firm's logo, they can see that. There is a brief message, and most of them, they don't really read. We know that already. They're going to go ahead, click on this encrypted link. When they click open, as Andrew mentioned that SafeSend has workaround to provide a secure way of accessing the data, but without them creating a login and password. So you can send those, for example, have a secret answer, send it out to them. In this case, for demos purposes, I simply send myself a one-time code. Now they grab the code and come back and continue. Very easy for them to be doing. They can do this from their mobile devices as well. We know that clients are always busy. They can type their names in, or they can go ahead using their mouse, create their unique signature, and simply click on apply and next. In this case, my sample engagement letter already has this section 360, 7216, so they can go ahead, put in their signature or their initial. And just like that, they finish the engagement letter request sent by you. The next section of today's demonstration, we want to take a look at the SafeSend organizer. Let's upload one. So once I click on the organizer, and I'm going to do a quick demonstration about how you can be using a one-off organizer, or you can be sending those out in batches. Batch processing is a wonderful thing. In this case, I'll be select from the text here and then from the drop down. And let's quickly take a look at what's inside of that organizer. So you want to make sure the client email address is here because that is the primary method, delivery communication, engagement letter. Do make sure that whether it's a single signing or a married filing joint return, you can go ahead, place all the sign and date boxes. Again, in that batch processing, you just need to do this one time. It's going to go ahead, apply to all that batch. Every single page of your organizer produced by the text software and no programming for you to be doing. We're going to go ahead, when I switch over to the taxpayer side, you can see how easy and simple for them to be simply clicking on that from their browser. You can also set up custom questions and then they can also answer those. There's a great reason you might want to use that. And let me show that to you when we get to the taxpayer side. And just like that, the organizer gets sent out. Again, back to the rule that we want to make sure that it's a simple and consistent way of communicating to your client. They receive this as an email request. From logo, there's that brief message. They will go ahead to click on this encrypted link. Once they click open, they will recognize this right away. Yep, looks like the organizer envelope. So really leaning in onto something they understand and then build the technology around that and provide them with great user experience. From logo, they recognize that, their name, they will go ahead to click on get started. Again, right? We don't need them to create a login, simply get that one-time code. Consistency, simple, so your team doesn't need to spend time helping them to reset the password and create another login. Now they understand this, very easy and simple. Once they're inside the organizer, for some firms, they might be sending out engagement letter together with the organizer. You can absolutely do that. And you can also require them to sign document that sent from you. Same thing, they click on the start. They can accept the signature right away or using their finger from their mobile devices and then simply create their unique signature. Following the next, and now they're done. The next portion, they can work on the organizer. And as I mentioned, your firm can set up custom questions and they can interact with this, yes or no, very easy for them. All the questions produced by your text software will be go ahead, display that for your client. Very simple, there's no programming for you to be doing. If they want to update anything, in this case, perhaps the client has moved, they can go ahead, type in their new address. They can also have the note on the right bottom corner and tell you that I have moved. Notice as I'm typing through, we're going to go ahead, change the field of the color. So when you look at the organizer filled out by your client, you will notice the color is different. The font type is also different. All the notes will be also provided to you as a hyperlink. So any information that you have sent over produced by the text software, they can see this as a checklist and they can interact with this. They can send over source documents. For example, they want to send over the spouse or the children's W-2s. They want to send over their 1099s, things like that. Very easy for them to understand. As Andrew pointing out, the gathering process might last for a number of weeks and sometimes months. So they can have the organizer open for them, available, and to help them to get text ready. When they're done, they can click on finish. And we're going to tell them, hey, would you mind please answer these 2 questions so you can set boundaries and let them know what is required from you so they can go ahead to do those. Now they can mark completion. Again, that simple user experience, a guided process. So they know what's needed from you. They can also send you source document that way. The issue that Andrew mentioned about that, they might be sending over duplication of document. In this case, they have this eye icon, so we provide them that preview functionality. Once they see that, yep, I sent over the same file, they can go ahead to delete that. Again, back to that simple, elegant way of communicating to you and to your client. They can save their progress, and we're going to go ahead and notify them and letting them know, hey, your preparer actually received information from you. So there's going to have that email address here, and also your firm will be getting notification from us. You say, okay, I see from the taxpayer side how they can send source document back to me. How about on my end? How do I know and how do I see what's going on? Excellent question. Let's take a look at your dashboard. So if we reflect upon about your current gathering piece, if you're using that portal, your client might be sending you files and they create subfolders and things like that. It's not so easy for you to know which file you have gathered and then which client. And in the SafeSend organizer, you have this wonderful dashboard. You can track, have they signed anything? Are they done with the organizer? Have they sent me any source document? So the simple filter is really designed to empower and make that process easy. Once you're ready to download those, you can simply click on download button and you can grab everything at the same time. And you notice we're going to go ahead, place on the person who grabs the file and the time that had happened. The ones that you have so busy or you maybe have download part of that and then clients send you more things, you can go ahead to grab the new ones. Again, solving the problems, making things easy for you and for your client. If you want to send them reminders, you can also do that here. And I want to show you the final piece. You said, great, now I figured out the 1040s. This might be a way I want to try this out. How about other engagement type? Let's take a look at SafeSend Exchange, and there is a feature designed exactly just to solve that. Document request list. As Andrew mentioned, to keep your firm's workflow consistent, that you can use a template. In this case, I want to send out a brand new request. And what you're going to do, really simple, you understand that too, your clients get it, will be entering an email address, tell them what this request is. And I'm going to say test request doc 2022, and you can grab the template right from the dropdown. I'm going to send out an entity return template, and you can standardize the message for all your staff members so they can apply those. And all your settings will be here available to them. The due date, the retention period. I'm going to request a client to simply get a one-time code, or you can create something special, last four digits of their social, plus their home zip code and things like that. And here's a list that is commonly used. But the ability to allow your staff member to adjust those on the fly is also crucial. In this case, I already have the shareholder information, so I'm going to go ahead to remove that. Now I simply need 4 items for my client. I'm going to go ahead to send the request. Very easy, and now we know we're waiting on those items. Let's take a look at the client side, how they might be able to send you files. Again, the simplicity. They simply get a message, and you need them to re-upload files for you. I will be asked to enter, and this will be the method because I'm getting a one-time code. So verify that. At the same time, I'm getting a code. Well, this is now the 3rd time we're seeing this process, and this is how you really set the boundaries and make things easy, and your client understand this. They authenticate with that, and they will see the list and also the description set up by you, and they can click on the upload button and send you document this way. Very easy and simple. I'm going to send over a couple documents I already have on hand. And they can have this thing open. When they're done, they're going to click on upload done. We're going to tell your client, you only send out 2 of 4 items. Again, back to the problem we're trying to solve. How do you know the percentage of the completion rate from your client? At your end, what are you going to see? Refresh that, and we're going to go ahead to see the system will be tracking, and then now you're going to see clients send you 2 files at what date, and you can go ahead to download those and the outstanding items. You can go ahead, send them reminders, or you want to remind all the items and then send out multiple requests. You can also do that as well. And that is a simple demonstration about using SafeSend Suite on the front-end module to help you to get tax ready.
Great. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Shirley, so much. That was a great presentation. Much appreciated. I think we should probably launch the last polling question here as we head towards the end to wrap up. So, Isaac, I'm going to turn it back to you for polling question number 4.
All right. The final polling question is, are you interested in learning more about the SafeSend Tax Ready solution offering? You got to answer. It's yes, no, I'm not the right person, or you just are here for the CPE credit. But really, I think Andrew and Shirley have given us some really demonstrable reasons why firms need to improve many aspects of their document gathering and the tax-ready process from actual client interactions through security, the entire process. It's time to move.
And I think, Isaac, the takeaway here is that, and from the polling questions today, you can see that there's obviously firms are getting it done because, again, we're filing returns, but firms don't have an elegant, sophisticated, easy way to standardize and do this. And I think the participation, integration, and working together atmosphere that's happening right now between, technology vendors in the industry and things that are coming along fast like AI are really, and kind of the focus of the industry now to this front end, are really going to give the firms out there the solutions they need. We need firms to tell companies like us what to build, and we need to listen. And then we need technology to be in a place where we can solve the problem. And we need for vendors to, innovate and solve these problems out there for the firms. And I think that we're in a time period where you're going to see a lot of improvement rapidly to solve the gathering problem. So I think that is from our end. We had a lot of questions. We've got most of those answered. Thank you, Jamie Bixler, for being on here. Thank you, Shirley Chin. Thank you, Isaac, for being on here to guide us through. From our perspective, that is the final slide. And so I think we can wrap up accordingly.
All right. And once again, this is Isaac, your moderator. And I want to thank Andrew and Shirley and SafeSend for making this CPE webcast possible. And of course, thank you to everyone who attended this webinar. You will now be presented with a post-event survey, which will appear on your screen. Once again, you must submit this form, even if you submit it blank. Your CPE credit certificate will then be sent to the email address you used. Look for a message in your email from webcast admin. If you had multiple attendees joining from the same computer or device and you wish to receive CPE credit for more than just yourself, then you need to email their names and email addresses to editors@cpapracticeadvisor.com. That is EDITORS at cpapracticeadvisor.com. This webcast will now end.